While you're standing, the book of Acts, real quick. Let's just stand for the reading, and you can be seated in a few seconds. The book of Acts, chapter 10. The book of Acts, chapter 10. We do stand for the reading of the word. It's Father's Day. And I'm believing God that the men will be encouraged before today is over. When you have Acts chapter 10, say amen. Amen. And it says, and there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people, and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thy alms are come up for a memorial before God. He says, now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He's lodged with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. And he shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants, and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. And on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry. Somebody say very hungry. Very hungry. And would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending upon him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manners of 4-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air. And we're going to stop right here at verse 15. He says, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, no, not so, Lord. He says, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, what God has cleansed, that call not thou common. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading, the hearers, and the doers of his word. We're going to talk about the man in the middle this morning. Be seated in God's presence. This is Father's Day. And one of the reasons why I wanted to really deal with this is because I felt impressed in my spirit that it was necessary for us to really deal with this subject and this issue. For many of us, especially right now in our society world, and many times when you see those images, if you're not careful, you will put everybody in the same category. And you would say that men are not taking their rightful place in their homes and in our communities because they posterize a few people and they judge all of us based on what a few people have done. Being a man, as much as we might think we know about it, is not an easy task. Many men have tried, and a lot of men have failed, because manhood is not an easy thing. outside the Bible, there's really no book you can read on how to become a real man. And being a real man is something a lot deeper. It's what's on the inside. It's not the hair on your chin, the bass in your voice. It's not your conquest of women or how much popularity you have. Everybody has that, but that doesn't mark what a real man actually is. When you talk about a real man, you got to go back to the book, and the Bible declares in Genesis chapter 1 that when God created a man, he created man in his image and also in his likeness, and he says, and let them have dominion. When he created the first man, the Bible declares that when he created man, initially what he had in mind for us, he said that it was good. So God, when he looked at what he created as it pertains to a man, he said that it was a good thing because he gave man his very own image for him to pattern his life after. We know the story that the enemy came and distorted what God has created, and man has lost his place. Man has forgotten who he actually is because society and the plans of the enemy has wiped it out. And even in our society now, and I'm speaking to the women, we must be careful of how we handle our men. Because if we come into agreement with the men that God has put in our lives, and we begin to make them common, or we begin to lower them down from how we see them, then they lose their platform, not only in the spiritual realm, but also in our community, because men have to understand that certain things it just doesn't work right until we're in our proper places. When